Good evening and welcome to our second grand virtual event for the Maricopa County Comprehensive Plan. My name is Adam Cannon, and I just wanted to welcome everybody here that's attending tonight. We're excited that you're here, and we're looking forward to hearing from you tonight. So this meeting tonight is a follow-up to the visioning meetings that took place in November and December of last year. What we're doing tonight is going over some of the feedback we received and taking the next step in developing broad goals and policies, which are the real meat behind the comprehensive plan. And with that, I'm going to turn that over to our consultant, Matt Kleisico, for a presentation. We also have here with us tonight Darren Gerard, our planning manager, Tom Ellsworth, our director, Rachel Applegate as well. She's our planning supervisor. And go ahead, Matt, get us started.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Adam. It's great to have everyone join us this evening. This is a great opportunity to check back in with everybody and give an overview of where we stand in the process. This is our second virtual meeting for the comprehensive plan update. And we've done a lot of work since our first meeting, where we had the opportunity to have surveys, as well as discuss some of the existing conditions that we have. And we want to share those results with you. And so today we're going to give some of that, some of those results, as well as have some exercises to discuss how that input should be further incorporated into the draft plan. So the way we're going to go about doing that is we're going to get through these brief introductions and then jump right into that outreach summary of the feedback that we've collected from the public. We'll have a short moment for questions and responses, and then we'll get into those interactive exercises, follow that with another round of questions and responses, and then we'll just have our closing comments and let you get on with your evening. So we appreciate you joining us, and we'll get into some of the details. One of the things that I wanted to discuss before we get too far is just the format of the meeting itself. So if you can see at the bar, whether it's at the top or the bottom of your screen, you have multiple features that are available to you during this meeting. You have a chat feature that we encourage you to use during the meeting for any casual comments. If you have just a open-ended statement, or if you have a question about a technical issue that you're having with the meeting, you can please feel free to use that chat feature, and one of the team members will respond to you if an answer is available. We also have the Q&A feature. The Q&A button allows you to ask a more formal question. So if you have a question about what we're presenting this evening or something about the project overall, we encourage you to use that Q&A feature. And then again, a project team member will be reviewing that during the meeting and respond if an answer or a specific clarification is available. Now, one of the things I would clarify is, if you haven't, or I'm sure you've recognized, that this meeting is in view-only access. In order to keep the background noise to a minimum, we do have everybody's cameras off and the audio off. When we get to the end of the meeting, we recognize that some may want to have verbal questions. We will present an opportunity at the end to get through those verbal questions. So if you have a question at that point, you can raise your hand and we'll be able to turn your mic on and have those conversations. So thank you again for joining, and we'll just jump into a little bit of a recap on the background of the comprehensive plan. If you joined us for our first meeting, we went through these in a little bit more detail, so I'm not going to go through them robustly. But if you were new to this process or just wanted a little refresher, we're going to just give a short recap of what is the comprehensive plan and what does it entail, and what is the process that we're going through. And so this graphic kind of conveys that the comprehensive plan is a state-mandated plan. It's that long-range view of the future. It looks 10 or 20 years down the line and identifies that roadmap for growth and development for Maricopa County. And the way that the comprehensive plan does that is it utilizes a series of goals and policies to guide those land use decisions. So what ultimately happens is those goals and policies allow our decision makers, whether it be staff at Maricopa County or our elected officials, to ensure that our short-term decisions are consistent with that long-term vision. So I think very practical approach, and one that has worked well for the county. And as you can see on this slide, the last time this plan was updated was back in 2016. So we're 10 years down the line. It's good practice to take another look at the comprehensive plan, make sure it's consistent with the overall vision that we want to nurture, as well as consistent with updated data or updated conditions. As development happens, things change, and we may want to recalibrate things. And so this is the opportunity to do that. One of the other things about the comprehensive plan is, what does it cover, or what does it entail? And so, yes, it is the Maricopa County Comprehensive Plan, but per state law, as you look at this map on the screen of Maricopa County, all of the areas that you see in blue there, those are municipalities. Those are our cities and towns within Maricopa County. They're required to have a general plan, which is very similar to a county's comprehensive plan. And so this comprehensive plan actually addresses all the areas outside of those blue municipalities, as well as the tribal lands colored in orange. So all of the tan or beige color are the areas that this comprehensive plan, the unincorporated areas of the county, that would be addressed within this plan. If you're within one of the blue areas, we would encourage you to look at the general plan for that particular municipality. Now, the other aspect of the comprehensive plan that is often helpful to residents is understanding where the plan comes in the development cycle. And so the comprehensive, we like to use this inverted pyramid to convey how the comprehensive plan is that 30,000-foot view of the county. So it's that long range, more general document. It's taking a broader look at things and holistically looking at the county to set that north arrow. It's our playbook. From there, we can get into our area plans. Our area plans allow us to look at the unique areas across the county. So Tonopah might have unique conditions compared to Rio Verde. And so those nuances can be better addressed in an area plan for those specific areas, as opposed to the overall comprehensive plan. And then from there, we get into the zoning ordinance or the zoning code. And that document or tool is what really guides development of a specific parcel. So it defines the uses and the setbacks and other parameters that help to guide specific development on a property. From there, we start to get into the actual site plans, the building permits, and then you can go vertical. And so that's where you go from a very broad document, which is the comprehensive plan, down to very specific on the ground, going vertical and development. So that's why the comprehensive plan is an important tool. It sets our foundation and then ensures that we're moving forward in a comprehensive manner. Now, this graphic identifies the schedule and process that we're going through for this update effort. I'm not going to go through the whole graphic because there is a lot of information here. If you're interested, you can go to the project website, and we'll detail that on the next slide. But what I would focus you in on for this particular slide is just looking at we have 3 primary phases for this effort across the top. And then across the left-hand side, you see within those phases where what we're working on, who we're speaking with, and what we're discussing. So to this point, we've gone through phase 1. You can see this orange arrow identifies where we're generally at within the overall process. So we've had the ability through our round one outreach to identify where we are in the county, as well as where do we want to go. And so tonight is really going to be focused on how do we get there. And so this process is all looking to be formalized and adopted by spring of 2026 at the latest. So here is one of the items before we get into how do we get there. We want to discuss how can you be involved. And the fact that you're participating in this virtual meeting tonight means you're engaged. So we greatly appreciate that. But if you have friends and neighbors that are not able to join us, we encourage you to visit our project website, framework2040.com, and that will have a lot of the information as well as the recordings from prior meetings and this meeting and other material that you can review. As we are all joining this virtual meeting, we also have in-person meetings in each of the supervisor districts that I'll outline in the next slide. So again, if we touch on something that you'd love to learn more about, we encourage you to visit us at one of our upcoming in-person meetings. We'd love to talk to you one-on-one. And then we also have the ability for, again, your friends and neighbors to join us at those meetings. Last, I would highlight all of this. You can sign up on the project website to be informed about all of these events and opportunities. So if you haven't had a chance, we would recommend you go. It's just a quick form. You sign up and you'll get notices and reminders of upcoming participation opportunities. Now, here is a little recap of those in-person meetings that are coming up. And so we have one in each supervisor district. You can see the map there with the general locations. But all of these are outlined on the project website. If you don't capture this from this meeting, you can see that we're going to be up in the Anthem area starting on Monday, April 29th, or 28th, I should say. And then from there, we will be out in the Mesa area and so on and so forth. So again, we've had good participation at these in-person meetings, and we would love to even have more. So if you want to help us get the word out, we greatly appreciate it and look forward to seeing you there if you do decide to join. Now, I know I flew through those kind of quickly, but did want to get to the bulk of the presentation, which is sharing some of that feedback that we collected through round one, as I mentioned. And so that first surge of outreach, we really were able to understand what residents think about Maricopa County and the direction we need to go. And so the next few slides, I'm going to walk us through how we collected that information and then highlight some of the results from that. Certainly, we don't have time to touch on all of the feedback we collected, but it has been documented and it is on the project website. So then again, that's something that you can review at your leisure and get some more specific information if what we've reviewed this evening doesn't completely capture everything you're curious about. So when we conducted our first surge of outreach, we utilized many methods to make it as user-friendly as possible to join this process. So as we mentioned, we have our grand virtual and our in-person meetings. We also had small group meetings with agencies and other technical experts as needed to make sure that we're not only hearing from our residents and our property owners within the county, but also recognizing we have other public agencies and partners that help achieve the goals and policies that are outlined in the comprehensive plan. And so those small groups provided those opportunities for us to have those conversations. Now, the way we collected a lot of this information is through three means. We had our community survey, which we'll be going over in a few slides. We also have our idea wall, which has been very popular, and we would encourage you to go take a look at that on the project website. And all of these items that I'm mentioning here, the community survey, the idea wall, and the virtual mapping are still open and available on framework2040.com participate. So if you just go to the homepage, you click on participate, and it'll take you to all of the different ways you can engage. And there's a link there that allows you to see these engagement opportunities. And the idea wall is just as it sounds. It's a place where residents can just post a thought, any thought that you might have. And the benefit is, as you can see with this middle image on the screen, that some have posted images to convey their comment. And then from that comment, others can review them and also look to comment on the original statement, or simply say that you support it. So we would encourage you to take a look at that idea wall, see some of the thoughts that your friends and neighbors are sharing, and even see what ones are trending with a little bit more participation. And so that has been a very popular tool. And then our virtual mapping, you can see a small thumbnail of that virtual map on the bottom of the screen. So you can see that's been very populated with thoughts and ideas. And so you can go on that virtual map, click on all the pins, and see what your other residents within the county have shared across the community. So all of this is captured in a vision report, and that vision report is also available on the project website. And so that vision report details not only the results, but all of the individual comments that we received from residents. And so it's a whole clearinghouse of information in terms of informing this comprehensive plan update process. And so we're very interested in the content, and we would encourage you to go take a look and see if it sparks any additional ideas that you may have. Now, while I outlined the vision report, we wanted to at least pause on this slide to kind of show where you can get additional information and what you can glean out of that. Both of these documents, as I mentioned, the vision report is on the project website. That's under the resources page. And that really focuses on where do we want to go, right? The survey focuses more on some of the priorities that we have, some of the concerns that we have. Whereas we also did an existing conditions analysis and summarized that into our brief insights report. And so that conducts or conveys more of where we are, looking at census data or MAG data, Maricopa Association of Government information. And so that's been, another tool that you can take a look at to make sure that we are covering all our bases in terms of looking at the data and understanding it. So those two documents we would encourage you to take a look at and learn more if you're so inclined. Now, let's get into some of those results. And from the survey, as I mentioned, it's still open where we've had traction in that. And so based on that participation, we wanted to keep the survey open to give further opportunities. So we'll continue to go back and look at the results to see if that changes some of these findings at this point. But these next few slides will take some of the highlights out of that survey and share them with you. One of the first things we look at, though, is demographics, just to make sure that the survey is being reviewed by a cross-section of the county, and we don't have any oversaturation in one area or another. So when we look at the first question here, what is your connection to unincorporated Maricopa County? You can see, of course, we would expect or want to see that members, residents of Maricopa County are the most prevalent participants. Then we have individuals that own property in the county, as well as businesses and so on from there. But what this shows is a good distribution, right? That we don't have all comments from one viewpoint. We have comments from multiple viewpoints, so that's a positive. When we look to the other side of the slide, how long have you lived in unincorporated Maricopa County? we see we have that equal or that continued distribution. So we want to make sure we're hearing from those near-term residents that are here 1 to 5 years, but of course also those residents have been here 11 or 20 or more years. So you can start to see that distribution along with those that are not applicable. So those would be the individuals that answered that I maybe own property or work in Maricopa County and don't necessarily live, but they did provide some input relative to their viewpoints within the survey. Now, one of the other areas is geographically looking at the distribution of who's participating. So in the survey, we did ask participants to identify what community you consider to be a part of. And so these bubbles reflect the prevalence of responses in particular areas across the county. The colors also reflect the supervisor districts that you see on the map there. So you can see that we're getting good distribution across the county, and then certain areas are engaging maybe a little bit more than others. But again, as we go through this process, we'll keep looking at that and updating this to see if those distributions shift or change. But overall, what we're wanting to see is making sure that we're hearing from a cross section of the county. So some of the other things that are very interesting are first and foremost, how important do you think the following topics will be over the next 20 years? So we presented all of these topical areas and then asked those that took the survey to identify, is it very important, important, or not important? And what this shows is that, as you can see, water availability is, there was no one that identified water is not important. And so that was very top of mind. But the other items that are top of mind are protect the natural environment and improve and maintain parks, trails, and recreation networks. So you'll hear or see that trend pop up in a few more results. And so that's an interesting outcome of this survey, is that there's some synergies, some consistency across even the variation of the county, that residents are like-minded in some of those priority topic areas. You can also see some of the other areas highlighted in orange that are also very highly identified as being very important or important. So again, you can look at the results to absorb this a little bit more, but this is a very helpful and informative slide for us in terms of guiding some of our decision making as we move forward. Now, to complement that, we also said when deciding where development should occur in Maricopa County, it is most important to consider, and then we asked participants to prioritize all of these topic areas. So based on how they prioritized it, everyone got a score, and then we tallied up all those scores. And these are how the rankings played out. So again, you'll see that environmental impacts and park and open space availability was at the top of the list, just as we saw on the prior slide. So some consistency there, which is interesting and good. But then we start to see the importance of the recognition for police and fire availability and the character of surrounding areas when we're considering development within the county. So of course, when we're looking at a plan that looks long range, understanding what issues are important to residents is helpful to guide the development of goals and policies that relate or respect those concerns. Now, housing, of course, is a topic across the state that we've heard a lot about. And so within the survey, we address it as well. It's at a high level, but nonetheless, one of the questions we asked was how does the county's housing stock meet the needs of home buyers? It's interesting, we see a pretty almost even split. About 54% say that housing's good or very good, and then the remainder say we have poor or very poor. And so this presents the potential that we're seeing those that are in housing, see it as a non-issue, and those looking to get into home ownership see it as an issue. And so this just validates, right, what we're hearing in the community, that those with that might already have a home are certainly not in the same position of those that are entering into the home ownership market and having trouble finding something that's affordable. So we wanted to dive a little deeper in housing. So we did ask a follow-up question. What specific housing related challenges do you feel are important when considering the future of the county? And so this slide, again, the size of the bubble shows the response, but it's interesting that we see still availability of affordable single family homes is the prevalent desire within Maricopa County. But from there, we start to see other trends. So we see the price point of starter single family homes as being an issue. So affordability can vary, right? What's affordable to me might not be affordable to others, or vice versa. And so it's interesting to see that the qualification of those who took the survey to point out that the price point of starter single family homes is in particular very important. We also notice density, right? How we incorporate density into our urban fabric is top of mind with residents. And then we start to see references to that missing middle that you might hear a lot about. And those are typically your townhomes, duplexes, triplexes, your attached single family type products. And we also have 48% that noted availability of affordable rental units. So again, all areas that had high levels of confirmation, but it's interesting to see kind of the dynamics of the viewpoints from those that took the survey. Now, as we transition from housing, we also look at open space and recreation, and we heard from prior slides that that is very important to residents. So when we say what types of park, trail, or other open space amenities do you think Maricopa County is most in need of, it's trails for walking and biking that was highlighted as the most important. And then from there, more local parks and then regional parks. And then it kind of trails off a little bit more on these other topical areas. So just validation that trails in particular and the connectivity to those destinations was something that was top of mind with many residents. When we start to look at the economics of the community, then we get into asking which kinds of industry should Maricopa County prioritize when thinking about future growth. So of course, Maricopa County, as well as other agencies in the county, have broad economic plans that focus on special areas that are important to our regional growth. But we also like to hear from the community. What industries are you interested or looking to grow within Maricopa County? And so you can see the results here that technology and healthcare were the two most predominant industry types, and those reflect what we're seeing out in the development community. As baby boomers age, we recognize that healthcare is going to be more demanding. And then as our technology advances, job opportunities in that sector are only going to grow. And so it has been trending in that direction. And so the survey results are proving that. So last, I'll end on this brief review of the highlighted survey results on energy. We have growth occurring in the county, but we need energy to support that growth. And so we wanted to at least touch on that within the survey. And so when we asked, is alternative energy production, such as solar, nuclear, hydrogen, and wind, important to the future of Maricopa County? You can see that a large majority acknowledge that they either agree or strongly agree that alternative energy needs to be part of our future. And so that is another helpful point of reference. And then from there, we did want to look at it in a finer grain. So this is a unique question, but we have some high energy users that locate within the valley and the county itself. And so when we start to think long term as more of these potential users come online, do we want to consider development should be responsible for the cost of developing new power infrastructure associated with that project? And so when we look at that, you can see again that residents or those that took the survey agreed or strongly agreed that development should be responsible in some part for the cost of developing new power infrastructure. You see a little bit of no opinion there, but largely we see support for ensuring that projects and the cost of development is captured in some of those projects. So as a summary, we look at all of this feedback, right? And we're digesting it and looking at how it influences our individual topic areas. But one of the things that jumped out at us as we started to really look at the broad themes that were coming out of this is it was encouraging to see that overall the comments collected started to align with three key themes. And the first being prosperity, that we are within a county that has great opportunity and ability to grow and continue to have a high quality of life. And so we need to ensure that that prosperity endures. And so it's really great to see residents recognize we want to preserve the quality of life that we have, but we also want to be stewards of our natural environment. And so looking at water and air quality were areas that residents highly addressed in addition to recognizing the importance of our natural open space. And then last is that notion of opportunity further down the road, of preserving that ability to make sure that we have affordable housing and that we have employment opportunities so that, again, that circles back to that prosperity and the cycle continues. And so that's really one of the takeaways we wanted to share with all of these results is you can get into it and pull out unique findings for certain topics, but overall it was encouraging to see that there was synergy and support for this notion of prosperity, stewardship, and opportunity. So with that, I'm going to pause and just see if we had any questions or particular responses up to this point. I know I was going through that material fairly quickly, but we did want to make sure we get to a point where we have a chance to hear from participants through our interactive exercises. I see that we did have a few questions come through that we are responding to through the Q&A. And thank you for the hands. We will address some of those hand and verbal questions at the end of the presentation. So we'll make sure to get to those before we close the meeting. But at this point, if you had any questions or answers through the chat, we'd encourage you to incorporate those. And then team members will continue to review those. And if they're able to provide a response, we'll make sure to get that in there. Adam, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, not at this time. I'm going ahead and answering the questions we're getting in the Q of A. You can go ahead and continue on to the interactive activity, but I'll be answering questions through the Q&A forms as they come in. So thanks.
Great. We'll keep moving along then. So as Adam mentioned, we do want to get into that interactive polling. And this polling is focused around that notion of how do we get there? So we just went through quickly some of the results from that survey. We use that information then to identify particular statements, and we organize those statements into topical areas. And so we're going to go through all of those topical areas and ask for you to identify how you feel about some of these broad statements. And if those were addressed within the comprehensive plan, would you feel more comfortable about the direction of the plan? Or are you concerned about the direction of the plan if it doesn't highlight something that you may be looking for? So to do this interactive exercise, hopefully this is not new to everyone, but for those that may not have done an interactive poll through such a virtual environment, we're going to use some active polling where you can go to menti.com. So if you are on your computer, if you can open another browser, or if you have your phone with you, you can even go via your phone and you just type in menti.com. You can also scan the QR code here and that will take you to menti.com. And then once you get to menti.com, it'll prompt you for a code. If you type in the code that is shown on the screen, so type in 49084405, that will enter you into the poll. And then as we start getting into the questions, you'll be able to respond to those. And then from there, we'll be able to see the results of the poll live as we're presenting. So I'll leave this slide up just for a little bit, because I know this is a little bit of a transition. So we'll wait to see and allow everybody to jump on menti.com and to enter your code. If you have any challenges with this, please, again, feel free to comment in the chat or even the Q&A, and we'll make sure we try to assist you as necessary. Okay, well, hopefully we've had some time to get out that new browser and get to menti.com. I'll go ahead and move to the next slide, which is the poll itself. And again, the code is at the top of the screen here. So if you are still looking at need the code, you can see it here at 49084405. And what we're asking, as we see some responding live, and that looks like everybody gets the gist. These are statements that we developed based on the feedback received. And these statements, if you read through them, the question is, if goals and policies that support these statements would make you feel optimistic, neutral, or concerned. And so, again, what this helps us do is within this overall presentation helps ensure to give us confidence that we're headed in the right direction when we start developing those more detailed goals and policies. Now, what I will say is, as you're looking at this, you might think, I want to qualify my response. At the last poll, we will have an open-ended ability for you to type in as many statements as you would like to say, I would like to see more reference to X, or I didn't see a reference to Y. And so if you want to respond in a certain way, but then you want to qualify that, again, we'll have an opportunity for that at the last poll, and you can submit as many statements as you would like. And as you can imagine, we're going to use those statements to then address, for instance, as we're seeing here, concern, that a fair amount are identifying some areas of concern. And so we'll look at your statements within that last poll to make sure we are looking at any gaps or areas of improvement. So it looks like we have 22 that have responded so far. We're looking at about 51 that are on the call today. So hopefully we'll give this a little bit more time to see if we get others jumping on. But you can see that relative to the land use topic, I should say, this is specific to land use. As we get into the other polls from here, we'll touch on housing, we'll touch on transportation, open space. So those will be in future polls. This specific one is focused on land use in particular. Well, it looks like we're hovering around 28, so I might stop us there. It looks like we have a fair amount that are saying, okay, we're tracking in the right direction with 68%. But we do have a few 29% that are identifying maybe some areas for improvement. So we'll look forward to hearing a little bit more when we get to that particular poll. But hopefully you start to get the rhythm of this interactive tool. So if we jump to the next topic area, here we're looking at housing and safety. So when we're talking about specifically housing and safety, looking at strengthening the public safety conditions through leadership, working on housing for targeted populations, diverse range of addressing housing for a diverse range of buyers, and then making sure we have those high standards of design and construction. So now clearly everyone can see within this particular topic area, we're getting some more variation, which is generally recognized given the importance of housing across the county in particular. So this will be an area that we continue to evaluate, but we see that responses are equaling out a little bit, with optimistic coming in at a little higher, 52%, and we're at 25 responses, had 28 at the previous. So we'll see if we get a few more jumping in. That's wonderful. We see a couple more that were able to log in, so we appreciate you joining the poll. And so again, we see some level of concern here relative to these topical areas, whether it be housing or safety. And so this helps us recognize that we'll want to scrutinize this area at a higher degree.
And we'll want to, when we get to the Q&A portion, those who responded concerned or optimistic, we'd like you to expound a bit if you have a moment. And once we get through the interactive portion of the meeting tonight.
Okay, we'll jump ahead then to next topical area. So here we're talking about transportation and open space. And so these particular statements address a comprehensive transportation system for motorized and non-motorized. Also looking at improving the reliability, efficiency, and safety of that transportation system. And the other statements look more on the open space side: protect and expand the regional park system, support appropriate public access to recreational lands. Oh, I apologize, I need to get that survey started. So hopefully it should allow you to enter your responses now. So as those are coming in, everyone can see the same results that we're looking at. This a little stronger in that optimistic support. Overall, we recognize that open space was a topic area that, as we noted in the survey, that was top of mind. So these statements, while there might be very broad statements, these at least set the tone. And as we develop more robust goals and then the policies that support those goals, you can imagine that these would all be expanded on. So as Adam pointed out, when we get to that open conversation, we would be curious to hear your thoughts, because that's where we can start to stitch in some of that detail and getting more specific and not being so broad as these statements. So great, we see another around 30 responses here, but again, some level of concern. So we'll be curious to hear what areas might be missing or of point of reference. So the next topical area is the environment, water, and energy. These statements you can see relate to protecting our air and water quality, safeguard the biodiversity of the region, look at ways to respond to hazards, whether that be flooding, excessive heat, contribute to the endurance of our water supply. We all heard on that first slide how important water is. And then, as we touched on, energy overall, increase energy efficiency to reduce the need for new energy generation sources, and take a leadership role in coordinating on the solid waste front. That was something that we heard coming out of the surveys. Oh, I apologize again. I need to click start on that survey. So this topic area does have a kind of a lot going into it. So we can kind of see some of those variations in the responses here. We're still kind of tracking in that 60% support or optimistic, and that 30% concern. And I think we've seen that balance a little bit on some of the other slides. So we might have a consistent trend, but again, when we get to that next slide, I believe, we'll be able to refine that a little bit more. Oh, we got one more before we jump into the open-ended statement. All right, great. We're back at that kind of 30 range in terms of responses. So appreciate all of you who are engaging. And we'll get to the last topical area, which is economy and the cost of development. So again, we recognize that we heard through the survey that looking at those opportunities long-term is still important. So having a diverse and balanced economy was something we wanted to identify, cultivate a thriving business environment that not only attracts but retains our existing businesses, prioritize technology and healthcare like we saw in our survey results, and from a county perspective, exercise sound financial management. So here we're seeing a little bit more variation in that optimistic to neutral, and maybe a little bit more comfort and less responses on that concern side. but we're back up to that 30 responses. So that's where we've been kind of hovering. So I think to give everyone an opportunity and more time to discuss some of those open-ended statements, I think we'll go ahead and just jump forward. And so this particular slide is just an open-ended. So the question here is biggest question still on my mind. And because we're in a virtual environment, we kind of had to lump this together, but we're curious, interested in allowing you, as you can see, hopefully on your screen, the ability to clarify any statement. So you can provide as many statements as you would like. So if you had different thoughts over those different topical areas, we'd encourage you to share your points of reference in individual statements for that. And then we can hopefully also see if there's any hands that want to speak as well. And so we're starting to see those come in. You can see some of the observations. How will we plan to pay for everything the plan would entail? This plan is a broad, overarching plan that sets a direction. Other documents that the county has looks to identify how to program funds. So this plan is not necessarily all about identifying specific projects for funding. It's also identifying how we might look at partners, how we might look at ways to do things more efficiently. So those are all things that are being considered, but it is not lost on us that some of these goals and policies may have impacts from a funding standpoint. And so that always will be a consideration as we continue to evaluate things. And ultimately, when we do get to a draft of the plan, that plan will go out for 60 days, a 2-month review period. And so that's also going to be a point where if we have certain thoughts or ideas out there, we'll hear from the public about concerns from any funding standpoint. But good observation. We see balanced NIMBYs with economic development and housing. That is certainly a particular challenge as we're starting to even see a little bit more of that infill development within the county itself, and those areas that are experiencing development, new development adjacent to existing development. We see those different needs between high density and low density areas. And so the county does have a very important program that is part of the comprehensive plan. It's the Urban Solutions for Urban Development. And that starts to get into that notion of the different needs between high density and low density areas. And so I like that statement because that is something we're keying into and paying attention to as well. So thank you for that observation. From an accountability standpoint, in terms of the comprehensive plan does create the goals and policies, and it also presents an opportunity for us to identify potential action items. But this is a plan that, once adopted, is also a tool that residents can use to remind decision makers about the goals and policies that are being championed within the comp plan, and making sure that accountability is in place. Adam, if you wanted to jump in on, whoops, apologize for that. Just trying to scroll through some of these,
Sure,
but
you can continue to scroll and discuss. We're working on answering some of the questions before we go. Did anybody have any questions? I think we have a hand raise for someone who wanted to speak. So
apologize here. I was trying to get this to scroll down through some of those postings, but it's not cooperating at the moment. Yes, we do have a hand. Let's see, get over to Kelly. Your hand is still raised. If you would like to, oh, Kelly took her hand down, so maybe your question, oh, back up. We can allow you to talk if you'd like, but I know you did submit a question, so if that sufficed. But if you would like to speak or anyone, you can go ahead and raise your hand and we'll go ahead and turn your mic on. Oh, there we go, Kelly. Let's see. So Kelly, if you're able to unmute yourself, you should be able to speak now.
All of the comments that I had, I've sent through in various platforms during the presentation. But the principal concern that I have is Maricopa County has been an entity as long as I've lived here, which goes back to 1980. And we're now looking at a lot of problems that people are describing as a housing crisis or an energy crisis or one thing or another. And so my principal question is, if all these concerns have arisen during the time that Maricopa County has been a governmental entity, what will be changing in the delivery of Maricopa County services to mitigate the problems that you're identifying tonight?
Go ahead, Tom.
So and looking at that question or understanding that question, I think it's the exact reason why the state statute requires us to revisit comprehensive plans every 10 years. Housing crises or any type of crisis that occurs has a lot of dynamics to it. So as we revisit these policies and goals every 10 years, we're able to reevaluate what's going on out in the job market, the housing markets, what's going on nationally, and even in world markets, and what can we do in our policies and goals to address those. I think that's what we're really trying to accomplish here. So as we go out and figure out what are these new issues. 20, 30 years ago, growth was the big issue. How do we deal with growth? As we've expanded that and we've actually grown, now water becomes a big issue. Housing affordability has become a big issue. So to me, that's exactly what this plan's doing. It's not so much of what didn't we do 50 years ago, it's more of responding to what's been happening as we've progressively gone through the last 50 years. So I think it's a great question, and it's one that we constantly have to answer as we go through our comprehensive plans, our area plans, and we reevaluate our regulations and ordinances that implement those plans. So great question.
Thank you, Kelly. If anyone else has a desires to qualify their comment, you go ahead and raise your hand. We do have time to allow anyone to clarify a point or observation that they made. We see some great comments here. Unfortunately, it's not letting me scroll through them at the moment. But we do have them documented as part of the results, and that will continue to get shared. Craig, it's a familiar name. If you can unmute yourself, you should be able to speak.
Hey, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I think having been associated with Maricopa County for as long as the previous speaker, I think the county's done a fantastic job trying to work within the parameters of their statutory limitations. They aren't offered a lot with what they can do through the enabling legislation, and they haven't been offered a lot over the years to expand that opportunity. I think what you're trying to do with looking to the future, as Tom said, that's perfect. We can't look back. We've got to look forward. And I think you're on the right track, and I applaud that. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Greg. We appreciate it.
Checks in the mail?
Well, I don't want to rush anybody, but if others would like to share a point of clarification, more than welcome. If we see that there are no more hands, we might be able to move forward and just have some closing comments.
I've got one more question to address, but I just wanted to thank all of you for coming here tonight. We really appreciate the feedback. One of the most important things, this public participation effort is really the cornerstone of what we do here at Maricopa County. And online, we have, a number of different outlets on the Framework 2040 website where you can participate. There is an ideal wall, like Matt mentioned. There is the survey. We get a lot of the results that you saw tonight are from that survey. And we keep that survey open because the more responses we get, the more feedback we're getting to make a better plan for the county. So again, I just wanted to thank you. I'm going to go ahead and answer Michael W.'s question, but if there's any final questions, we're happy to answer them. You're welcome to contact me at adam.cannon@maricopa.com if you have any specific questions that maybe you didn't get answered. Another thing is that we've got several in-person up in the next couple of weeks, and we definitely encourage you to attend, especially if you want a one-on-one experience with any of the people who've been answering questions tonight, so you can dig a little bit deeper. We're going to have some of the same exercises, but there's a different, feel to being there in person with some other people. So we really encourage you to come. Our next set of meetings happen on Monday and Wednesday of next week. We've got a meeting in Anthem, followed by a meeting in Mesa. And then we'll be also going the following week to Chandler, Sun City, and Laveen. So if you have the time and the opportunity, we definitely encourage you to come to those. RSVP at framework2040.com. And thank you again for your attendance tonight.